The Australian Maltese Chamber of Commerce welcomes new members. For more details, visit their website amcc.org.au. Fit-taqsima li jmiss il-kollega tiegħi Mark Avellino ser jitkellem ma' grupp ta' Awstraljani ta' nisel Malti li infatti waqfu l-grupp bl-isem Maltese Australians Youth Committee fi New South Wales.
So we were all members of the New South Wales School for Maltese. So we started studying the course. When did we start that? What year was it? About 2013?
2 years ago.
2014?
We sort of started at different times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we all started at different levels of Maltese. Some of us had our parents speak to us in Maltese as we were being raised. Others of us were learning pretty much from scratch. But very quickly we formed a nice kind of community together, given that we're all experiencing the same things together. And we got approached by one of the teachers, and she asked us if we were interested in forming a youth group that would present a paper at a conference in Malta that was occurring in 2015. So that's where it all really started from.
What types of things have you been involved in?
So as a group, when we actually first got together, we thought it'd be a good idea that we actually do something that we could bring the Maltese community together. So we did a launch, and it was a function that we held at Lovelet, Blacktown. And after that, we also did a lot of fundraising things. We had organised a fete, and the fete was extremely successful. We had different stalls at the fete. We also had the fire brigade came to the fete, and that leading to something we hope to do every year, which we are planning to do in later this year, which around September.
We attracted all ages of Maltese, the old, the young. We had entertainment there, lots of attractions for the younger ones.
Little animals.
Cool.
Yeah.
So with the fete, was there some distinctly Maltese flavours there from the point of view of food or some of the stall holders? Or
Yeah, we had pastitsi and kidney.
You can't go without
That's
it.
a given.
Yeah.
We also had the Maltese rugby league team that were representing there. We had a Maltese Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
We also had Anna.
Yeah, we had an Anna fest. So I brought the idea to the group to kind of have a section in the fete where we would have a Maltese culture, like a folklore type thing. So we had a lady dressed in the Onella.
So with the group and where you're currently moving towards, you were saying earlier that you want to try and get younger people, or members of the younger community involved. What do you think the response will be from younger Maltese?
Knowing that we can utilise the media, and Facebook especially, it's something that we can use as a means to communicate to the younger people. And we are working on a youth group that we're going to try and organise events where we can get the young together and help them understand a lot about our culture. And they can
try and get that interest back in there, like the pride and the energy that we have. We want to instill that in the younger generations, and we feel that there isn't much of that. Like I feel very lucky that we found this group and we all share the same passion. I grew up with a lot of Maltese, like I went to school with a lot of Maltese, and they were Aussie. They weren't, like I would talk Maltese things, but they weren't brought up with the same culture and heritage that I grew up with.
So you mentioned earlier that you came as a group through language, learning language. And so do you think that that's going to be your resource to tap into some people that are interested in joining your group? Because obviously there's at least that interest in learning the language.
Most definitely,
It's the levels of language that we're all at is different based on our parents, and if our parents are Maltese and it's a direct line of Maltese, you have got some experience and connection to the Maltese language. But then if there's those that don't have their parents are immediate Maltese, or they're born in Malta or in Australia, it can make a difference on their connection to the language as well. And that's why Shannon said earlier, we're all at different levels when it comes to the language, and it can lead to the understanding of language and culture and our heritage, which we all learn through our class as well.
It's always an interesting thing to talk to people who grow up here, and I know myself growing up here, when you go back you do sort of view it from a different prism. Moving forward for your association, and I'm really interested to know With your wish to develop this new group, is that going to be just open to anyone sort of under a certain age, or is there going to be any limitation on the age of people that you want to get into this new group?
Well, we want to create 2 groups, maybe one for the younger generation, so you're 18 and under, and then maybe like a young adults group, so you have a youth group and a young adults group.
That's our biggest challenge, I think. It's that the older generation, they're set in their way, and we recognise them and deeply appreciate what they've done.
Yeah.
But then there needs to be a sense of our culture being filled with things for youth as well. Because even growing up for me, like I grew up going to Catholic church, you have all these things exposed to you, but you look at it, you kind of go, oh, that's a bit old, that's a bit irrelevant. So we're trying to create a space where, you know, this is actually for young people, they're tapping into it, and there is that sense of pride. So the language school, you know, that's definitely a draw card because it's a weekly meeting, it's something consistent, but we want it to be something where intergenerational kind of communication is happening, because we see that as probably the biggest lack.
It's a missing gap.
Would you envision maybe even tapping into contemporary Maltese music?
That was one of the things that we were discussing as well when we create a youth group. Maybe we could have our own youth band, or you know, and have somewhere where they can come and chill out and you know, play instruments, or you know, and then we could hold concerts, or you know, things like that.
It's going to be very much at the discretion of what the young people feel they need, and we're there to facilitate that.
The great thing about a group like you is that it makes me think, well, the evolution of the Maltese culture and the Maltese in Australia, how do you view it from, you know, your parents' generation to now? What do you think is the biggest difference?
The biggest difference is the disconnection from Malta. They brought from Malta with them everything that was real and rich, and they carried it on, and it was new and it was at the time. And then as years passed on, slowly that drifted away, and the Australian culture sort of came into the play when they lived their lives and what they did. And in turn, they brought up their children within the same thing, but it never held as strong as if when they were in Malta, with it in Malta.
So something like a festa, for example, I was brought up, my parents were very heavily involved in the Maltese community here in Sydney, and festas were a thing. I was so excited to go to a festa when I was little, and the older that I got, the less popular it was. I loved going there because I love anything Maltese, but you wouldn't see as many kids my age or things like that, and I think that they're not as popular as what they used to be when we were younger. I wouldn't say that there aren't any of the younger generation that aren't interested in keeping it alive. I would love to see it live on, you know, through generations. I would love my kids to be able to attend the festa in the future.
The Maltese Australian Youth Committee, hopefully we can play part in achieving something where that does not happen, and we know it's there for the generations of not just our children, but all of our children, so that we can experience what our parents have always wanted to be passed down. And